You're listening to... I know what it is. You're listening to the Dollop on the All Things Comedy Network. This is an American history podcast where each week I read a story from American history to a miscreant.
Stop it, buddy. Not this week, because it's a part 2 to the part 1. Gareth Reynolds, who knows what the topic is going to be about. You're listening to the Dollop on the All Things Comedy Network. You know the deal here. Each week, I read a story from American history. Well, this week, to my friend and my best friend, Dave Anthony.
Hey.
Okay. All right, let's just jump in. Well, it's the same date. It's May 31st, 1889. Year of Indiana Jones's dad, probably.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah, and I thought about saying that for years.
Yeah?
Yep. Okay, so do you remember where we left off, Dave? Do you remember what was happening?
The dam problem.
The dam has gone.
Yeah.
So the dam at the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club just fucking...
The shit dam, anyway.
Well, excuse me. The sluice is loose. Okay, so look. It was absolute fucking bedlam.
Mm-hmm.
The impact of the flood was so much worse because of all the things the flood was kind of picking up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there was so much debris that the flood would actually stop, only to build up bigger because of the kind of debris bulge.
So it was making dams as it went down.
It was kind of self-damming.
Self-damming.
And then it would like projectile itself out, picking up steam, making the flood bigger. And then that would just mean that the flood would go, and then it would pick up more debris because it was moving faster. And
it's cool.
And you know, for the most part, it's going down the Conemaugh riverbed, so it's kind of just like, you know, shredding all these places down the riverbed, but it's super
When you say
overflowed.
places, you mean houses and people.
I don't know. We'll see. You could see the trees and the telegraph poles flying through it. Bridges, if it were to hit one, would hold it for about 10 minutes sometimes, but then eventually would give out, and then the flood would have nice big chunks of bridge in it too. Mineral Point was a small city with about 30 houses along a single street. It was parallel with the river and got absolutely hammered first. By the time the flood had gone through, it didn't look like there was ever a city there at all.
That's kind of weak.
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
it's...
Make a stand.
You're talking to the property?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a take.
This is a podcast about property.
This episode or this show?
Just
'Cause
in general, it's about property and property rights and a good property.
I do feel like you kind of keep saying what this this is.
It's a real estate podcast.
Okay. Anyway, the telegram that we discussed in episode 1 that was sent to Mineral Point.
Let me just say, what was the name of the city that just got wiped out?
Mineral Point.
Mineral Point. Right now, right after this flood passes, there's a lot of good land up for grabs, for sale. You can move in and you can get some really good deals.
Right. Okay. That just seems... Okay. So there was a telegram sent by Emma Ehrenfeld, if you remember, in episode 1. She finally sent the telegram, but the operator in Mineral Point never got it. I mean, he was forced to leave his tower. He said the first warning he received was seeing people floating by in their houses.
Which is that's late.
It's better than a telegram.
Yep.
Because it kind of lets you go, oh, okay.
Yeah, then there's something bad.
There might be a flood.
Yeah.
You're keyed into it at that point.
What time is it? It's the middle of the night, right?
No, it's like early afternoon right
All
now.
right.
It's like maybe 3, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all gone. 16 people died. Also, Emma Ehrenfeld, who had sent the telegraph to Mineral Point and other places, also didn't survive the flood. So
She didn't. And how many lots are we talking about?
lots.
Like housing lots?
I'm not going to get into the property stuff.
All right, it's a property podcast.
It really isn't. And we did a first episode and it wasn't a property. So it feels like you're just saying that
Okay.
now. So in the recounts, after Mineral Point was gone, one man explained a conversation between him and another resident. So this guy says, quote, He says Mineral Point is all swept away and the people swept away and my whole family is gone, end quote. I says, quote, is that so? End quote. And I says, do you know anything of my family? And he says, quote, no, I don't. I think they were all drowned, end quote. So there was just a catch-up.
It's a very brief conversation.
I think that's why it ended up in here. It seemed very conversational. Like, did you see the game last night?
Yeah.
See the game? Well, it was down to a field goal in overtime. That was close, huh?
Oh, that's really...
All right. I guess
see you later.
Get a new wife. All right, see you later. So next was East Conemaugh, where the rail yard was located. There were 9 locomotives that were stored there on that day, and then there were additional 20 that were waiting on the tracks for the weather to pass.
So now we're talking about property.
If you want to get into it, we are this is rich guy stuff. There you go. Okay. So many of the stranded passengers had left the trains due to the delay, but some of them just stayed on the trains to wait it out. I would have 100% been a stay on train, wait it out kind of guy. Yeah. Engineer John Hess was pulling 7 cars into town on the Bellist train when he was stopped by a flagman who told him. Hess said, quote, I don't suppose we have laid there more than 20 minutes until we heard the flood coming. We didn't see it, but we heard the noise of it coming. It was like a hurricane through wooded country, which is a lot of it is about how people heard it first.
Yeah.
People heard, is that regular?
Sure.
Okay. The first thing he could see were trees on the move more than a flood. So they were all very confused when they would first see it because it did just look like a forest was attacking.
Sure.
And then they'd eventually see the water chaser. There was also something the first sign of water they saw was actually a mist. They called it, I think, the Black Mist. So the first thing they saw was like a Tim Burton movie kind of coming at them, like a Sleepy Hollow. Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Very cool at first, but then you go, oh, what the,
And
then you're talking to a guy and you're going, hey, do you know anything of my family? And he's going, oh no, that's over.
Here's me telling the story. First the mist came, and then
I said nothing.
And I said, whoa, and then your family was gone.
Yeah. Here's me. You be him.
Okay. Here's me.
No, you go, did you hear anything of my family? No.
Did you hear anything about my family?
No, they'll be fine.
Oh.
And then I go home, I go, man, I hope someone else tells him. Okay, so, all right. So the first thing he sees are these trees on the move. The water at this point is coming in at 75 feet high.
That's very high.
It's very high, and it really fluctuates throughout this, so it's hard to fully know. I think it was changing in heights, again, based on where it was sort of stopping, where it was like kind of hitting into a bridge and shit like that. So there were, it fluctuates in height. And
for people in other countries, that's like 23 meters.
Yeah. And for people in England, it's 9 twiggies.
Don't ever say that again.
Okay. So Hess sees this coming.
Hot? It's hot, right?
I'm okay. You're hot?
Yeah, but I might
lose the shirt.
I might have.
Lose the shirt.
I have a tropical disease of some sort.
Oh, Luke bit you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the trees are moving. He sees it coming, and Hess sees this. And remember, he's on his train still. And like an action hero, Hess turns to another engineer and said, "Quote: The lake's broke."
He's right.
He's right. And Hess jumped into action and shouted that all the men and women around needed to run. But he stayed on the train. Why?
Because you don't abandon your train.
Because Hess was on a mission. A whistle mission.
Oh, he's gonna whistle
a wishing.
He's gonna whistle to warn people, but is he gonna drive the train? Is he gonna take off while whistling?
Buddy.
Do we have a Paul Revere situation happening?
Buddy.
And let's just also add that it wasn't really Paul Revere. There was someone else on that.
Hey, no, I'm teaching. Stop. Some context. The train whistle was actually very important to an engineer. Engineers would play around with their tune, their tone, their tenor to make sure it sounded just right for them. It was like a logo, but, a whistle. The whistle was part of the man, the job, the passion. Why, gosh, it mattered as much as the train he conducted, okay? So anyways.
Here comes Dave Anthony.
So anyways, Hess gets on the train, and he gets the train steaming and moving, And not only was he holding his whistle down physically, but he eventually tied it down with rope. And what Hess was doing was exactly what you said. He was trying to Paul Revere, even though he's a fake, trying to warn as many people.
But the train moves slow.
The train moves slow.
I mean, it's a jugga, 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 jugga.
Well, he doesn't have much time. So it's not like he's, I don't know how many people he saved necessarily, but yes, it's not like he's not flooring a Tesla or something.
It's on fire.
So what he was doing was trying to warn as many people as possible that could hear it. He said, quote, "I didn't know what else to do. I didn't see what else I could do," end quote. And by net, it worked. The Hess whistle kept going as he got closer to Conema, where he lived, and people heard it and ran for higher elevation and somewhere
How
safe.
did they know just hearing the whistle that they had to run for higher ground?
So they are so familiar with what a train whistle does.
So if a train whistle is doing...
Like you hear like a choo choo.
Yeah, but if this was going... Go, 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 go.
Well, it's really going like... And like there's a flood, there's a huge storm. So people like freak out. So
these people are fucking weirdos.
These people are train weirdos.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. And then so he takes the train all the way to where he lives.
Yeah, at his house.
And he just jumps off it.
Yeah.
And he gets to his house just in the nick of time. He saved countless lives there in Conema and in Woodvale.
This is like the guy who saved all those people's lives in Altadena a couple months ago.
Never heard of him. What did he do?
He's this dude who graduated from climate, some sort of climate, degree. And I've always followed him, and he's just talks about going up in the park in Altadena and stuff. And in the middle of the night, he put out on a Facebook group, he said, "Everybody get out." And that was like 2 hours before the fire hit. He saved like many lives.
It's like his Facebook's a train whistle.
Right, and he apparently on Facebook he typed
whistle.
in toot-toot-toot.
That's why, because people hear that and they know.
Yeah, and so it was just TOOOT on
Black.
train. I'm gonna turn on the AC. You keep.
Okay. All right. So full trains and pretzeled track were now in the floodwaters ahead. So the train station gets pretty much demolished. Some survive. Some of the people on the trains obviously don't make it. Some do.
Now there's a pretty big lot there, so I think get in there, Sears or larger company. It's a good location.
This is a long time ago.
And
Is a while
maybe
ago.
Movie theater.
This is a while ago.
Thinking
I don't think they had that.
Yeah, but it's a good piece of land.
Okay, some of the trains were Pullmans, just so you know, just for a callback. Okay, so now it's 4:07.
Like an hour.
Yeah. Right. No, it's been a little longer.
Okay.
And now
2 towns in an hour.
no, there's a few towns, but those are the main ones.
Okay.
So at 4:07, I mean it's a river, so it's like it is going for a while, going down. It's kind of like, I think they call it
a river.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a river. I can't remember what they call it. It's not horseshoeing, but something like that, where like as it would get to the
Sure, it sloshes.
Okay, so at 4:07, it was time for Johnstown.
All right. Oh, no, wait, that's bad.
It's all bad. The flood hit in 3 different directions through the city, about 40 miles per hour at this point.
How many people are living there in Johnstown?
There's quite a lot. I mean, thousands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thousands, yeah.
So 40 miles per hour, truly a wall of water consuming everything it got near. Mm-hmm. Cambria Iron from, remember Daniel Morell, his company, whatever. Here we go. So Cambria Iron, the Daniel Morell company we talked about in the first one, the guy with the neck beard, that people really enjoyed.
Yeah,
the
good guy.
Visual. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Cambria Iron had been fulfilling some orders for barbed wire at the time that it got totally leveled by the flood.
I don't like this at all.
So the flood now had barbed wire in it too.
Oh my God.
Which is good, because you want barbed wire, you want trains, you want all that stuff in your flood, you want bridges.
Right.
So like we said, now there's barbed wire, trains, parts of the bridge in the flood. It's great.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. It's like a Pier 1 Imports.
Like if I'm downstream, I'm just gonna probably not get in it.
I also would think about the people who could kind of dig in there for stuff they've wanted.
Yeah.
Like if you want barbed wire, This could be great for you.
Or a train.
Or a train. I mean, if your guy was, I mean, most of us pine for trains, especially back then.
It's all up for grabs.
Yeah, no, you could just be a melon real quick.
Yeah.
The waters were also picking up houses. In Johnstown, the waters, so like they were like demolishing houses before, but in Johnstown, the waters hit a wooden house with a woman who was baking. The house was ripped from its foundation and flipped on its side, and the oven for baking fell over, and then so the house caught on fire. So a firehouse is now being moved by the rush of water.
Get it?
And now you've got a fire flood. So now you got a flood with fire.
Well, that's on her.
I agree. And that's something we've just started to get into in America again, where we're lighting fires on oceans and stuff.
But look, if you hear the rumble of a flood, you turn off the stove.
I agree. And that's how it worked back then.
Yeah.
Known staples of the city were gone or destroyed or burned. All of the above: roofs, trees, telegraph poles, pieces of bridge box, train cars, and like we said, that sweet-ass barbed wire. Also a ton of dead animals and people. As the flood crossed through town, it hit a bridge at the end of the city and was kind of stopped. It was sort of halted. At this point, it was covering approximately 30 acres. There were 1,600 wood structures in it. It was like a makeshift dam due to all the solid waste that had kind of accumulated, which is good.
Well,
Good, that it
I mean,
self-stopped kind of.
yeah, stopping is good.
None of this
for
is
now.
good.
But you can get some fishing in, a little recreation.
But hold on, because with all the debris, there's people trapped in it, and
they can get out.
No, they can't. And the worst thing that could possibly happened, which is then that debris caught fire.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's hard to know exactly what happened, how a massive dam of debris was now smoking on fire. No, maybe it was, but what they think is that it was a derailed train tank car that was in the mix, and some coals had spilled from the train car.
Classic.
And then so, like 80 more people died from the fire. Now, I also think...
Imagine being stuck in a flood.
Oh, dude,
you die from fire.
Honestly, I'm trying not to go too dark because, it's not funny. But the accounts
it's insane.
The accounts of what people were hearing are just horrific. I mean, they're just like, and like people are trying to help people. All right, so the total death toll was 2,209. Now, I think what also happened was, like, when it kind of stopped its momentum here, a lot of it, like, rushed back and, like, did another pass through Johnstown, too. So Johnstown completely gets fucked.
Yeah.
Like, of all of them, is the one that just completely gets fucked. So, look, David. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of darkness in this event.
Formal. Dave, we don't need the formal.
I'm teaching you. I'm your professor today. And I'm pretty cool.
It makes it a little stale.
Hey, I'm pretty cool. But I'm not going to be that cool. But how about this? Maybe after class, we can go to the common and you and I can smoke a J-bone and play a little frolf. Don't tell your mama.
Frolf?
Mm-hmm.
What is frolf?
Frisbee golf.
Okay, just read your story.
Hey, I want to talk to you about
You're
some
not
stuff.
cool.
You seem pretty down lately. Talk to your teachers,
I'm
also
around
cool.
You, I'm down.
Hey, teach.
You're not my teacher.
Say teach.
You're a guy reading a fucking story.
Buddy, you didn't know any of this, and I knew it.
Get back to the
I read over
bodies.
1.5 books. Maybe.
I'm really uncomfortable.
Hey,
No.
maybe after class we can go do some milkshakes. Try to... You look so mad. What's going on at home?
Yeah, no, you know
What's going on
We'll
at
go
home?
do milkshakes afterwards.
What's wrong? Is your
Just
dad?
finish the
Is your
story.
dad doing something?
He's dead.
What did he die from?
He died in a fucking fire after a dam crashed through the town.
Damn.
Yeah, damn is right. That's where the phrase came from.
That's tough, man.
Yeah.
Maybe you come over to my house later
Sure.
tonight and we can watch
Sure.
The Never-Ending Story.
Okay. Why don't you just finish this and we'll get on with
This
that.
is an ending story.
Uh-huh.
What we'll watch tonight will be a
Stop
little...
touching me.
Hey. All right, chill, man. All right. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of darkness in this event. So rather than focus on all the deaths, because they're very dark, I'm going to tell you some amazing stories of survival and heroism. Like when Victor Heiser went to go check on his family's horses in the barn when the epic storm was going on, and then the flood hits, and it hit the barn, and the barn was lifted up, like a lot of the other places, was fully lifted up. So his dad and he had just built like a trap door from the barn to like the roof.
Sure.
So Victor quickly ran to the roof through the trap door in the barn, and then he was up on the house. So while the house is moving down the floodwaters, he's made his way to the top, to the roof. He's kind of barn surfing.
Sure.
As he took off, he sees that one of his neighbor's houses is still actually standing. So he kind of walks to the edge of his roof, and he Jackie Chan jumped off of the barn roof.
Is he at any time during this? Is he yelling Yahoo?
They don't have that. I don't think these people were celebrating it as much as maybe you.
What about Cowabunga?
That he did yell.
Yeah.
Other people yelled that too.
Okay.
So he Jackie Chan's off of that barn of his family's barn roof onto the neighbor's house, and then he gets onto their roof, and as soon as he gets onto their roof, that caves in.
Yeah.
And so that caves in, and he falls, and he kind of is hanging on the edge on one of the eaves of the building, but the water is rushing beneath him, and he's trying to get his foot up, but he can't get a foothold, and eventually he's so tired, his fingers gave in, and he falls off the building onto a piece of debris. It's someone else's roof. So he lands on this roof debris, and now he's rushing down the floodwater on the roof. So he's roof boarding, they call it, and it became a huge thing in the X Games. As he cruised down the flood, he was passing other people from the neighborhood who were also debris kayaking.
Hey, Larry.
Literally, he sees these people who run a fruit stand, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they're like, I mean, he's not like that, but he's like, "Hey, it's fucking crazy.
Did you go get any strawberries?
Hey, did you the new strawberries come in?" and so he holds on. He surfs down the water. Trees are passing over him, like he's ducking trees, dodging them. And then a train car literally kind of just goes over him.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And now the roof splits apart, and he gets on a half of it. And that half, because of what the train did, just kind of gave him momentum. And he said, quote, that he shot out from beneath the freight car like a bullet from a gun. And now he's headed towards this brick building that's still in place. And he jumped off of the wood ski to the roof, where he was now with others who were surviving this ordeal. None of them like him, but still, quote, I was able to hop to the roof and join a small group of people already stranded there, end quote. And he checked his pocket watch right before the barn took off and right after he got to safety, and the whole thing took 10 minutes.
I mean, it's all right. He should have had his video going on his phone. That would be a great TikTok.
This would be good for GoPros, but he didn't even have one.
Yeah, I guess it'd be great to have like a head.
Yeah, that would have been smart to have some sort of head apparatus.
So it sounds like he blew it a little bit?
When you read back, a lot of people like this story. So I don't think they thought he blew it.
Yeah.
But it's good to get fresh eyes on stuff like that. Yeah. I think you're kind of providing something that is helpful. And maybe that'll be fun tonight when we go get some pizza.
Just keep on with the story.
Teaching David. Hey, don't be so whack, Jack. Off. Okay. There was also a story of two men who were leaning out of opposite windows, like across from the flood, and of small white buildings, and they were using long sticks to try to rescue as many people as they could. And as the floodwaters were gaining, one of them had a baby.
What?
One of them had a baby. Huh?
In the water, someone's got a baby?
I don't think it was a baby they saved from the water. I think it might have been. Look, shit. There were a lot of accounts of people pulling a lot of people out of this shit. So, so one of them has a baby and shouts to the other person across the way, and they said, quote, throw that baby over here, end quote. And the other one shouted, quote, do you think you could catch her? End quote. And the other guy says,
no.
Quote, we could try.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
So the other guy tosses the baby 15 feet over the water into the arms of another guy, and that guy caught it, and the baby survived.
But the baby broke.
No, baby survived.
Because when you throw a baby that far, I mean, they say don't throw a baby 20 feet because that's definitely going to break. But like a 15-foot, you got like a 75% chance of just snapping it.
Well, this is why when people see them, people throw their kids into pools and stuff like that. There's a lot of people like, hey, this is why you do it.
Yep.
You train in the off season for the event.
Yeah.
So it's really about, how you've got to know. Look, a baby will fly.
They fly.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's like 2 footballs.
Especially if you have someone who's good at baby throwing. And
Yeah.
that's why I think we should bring this back to the Olympics.
Yeah, in LA, which we're all excited about.
2028.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's going to be good. Another guy just surfed the whole time on a mattress for 4 miles and survived.
I mean, yeah, I would do that. That'd be me.
There's got to be, that guy was like definitely at the end like, hey.
I can't believe it floated that long without sinking, but okay.
Well, another family stayed in their house all night and just floated on their bed the whole night. I'm guessing
Sure, why not?
it probably had a wood base, but they just floated. Again, mixed in here are a lot of stories that are not anywhere like this.
Well, I want to just say, as far as the floating in the house story, their story sucks.
Yeah, it's not great. I think you'll like this one. One guy named Leroy Temple was counted as dead, but was actually very much alive. After the flood carried him away from his home, he hit the stone bridge, got out, climbed this embankment, and immediately walked to Massachusetts, where he was from originally. So he literally went.
How far of a walk is that?
I mean,
1,000 miles?
It's a distance. It's maybe under 1,000. It's still fucking. It's crazy to go from bridge to Boston.
Hundreds of miles.
Hundreds of miles.
But look, you get out and you're like, well, nothing here.
Yeah. Or you're just like, well, fuck that. Like, that's what I would do after, like, climb. You know what I mean? That's like what you feel like doing. People in Johnstown thought it was a myth, thought his story was made up, because there were a lot of made up stories. Thought his story was a myth. But 10 years later, he returned, and everyone was like, holy shit.
There you are.
Yeah. He was like, cool.
I'm alive.
I just went to Massachusetts for a while.
Yeah, I took a break. Yeah, this place is a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also good to get out of the place you were born in.
Well, he was born in Massachusetts.
Oh, never mind.
So, you know.
It's not, actually.
I'd say it's just good to get out of the places that are flooding with
The place is under 75
a
feet
train
water.
flood. Yeah. Okay, so Dave, the destruction was still unfathomable, incomparable. It was and remains to be the deadliest flood in the history of the United States.
Okay, so let me ask you this. We'll get into this now. Who didn't pay? Go ahead.
Who didn't pay?
Who didn't pay for the crime?
Oh, well, I don't know. What do you mean? I don't get into that. This is...
You're not going to talk about how no one was held accountable?
Come on. You think that's what this is all about?
Yes.
1 out of every 3 bodies was unidentified.
What?
Basically, 1 person out of every 10 that was around died. And Johnstown got it worse. There was more like, 9 out of every 9. But America, you know us. We love fucking tragedy porn.
We do.
So America couldn't stop reading about the flood as estimates were all over the map as how many people had passed away. Some papers were estimating 10,000 and higher.
I agree with that.
The Pittsburgh, I don't think that's right. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette was so sought after that it had to shrink its page size so that it could print enough editions.
I've done that.
It was called The Great Calamity, or The Nation's Greatest Calamity, or The Historic Catastrophe. The papers kept printing the names of all the dead. It was kind of one of those morbid press fascinations fueled by people unable to get enough.
Right.
So not knowing where, and that also is like, we do that now, but back then. So that's the thing, like, we are so into that now, like reading about the awful stuff. But back then, I mean, this just had to be like as good as it does itch that.
Yeah, people like it. People
We
like
like it.
People like a disaster story.
Yeah, and then, but this one is obviously a huge disaster, so you should have some sort of interest or intrigue. But you know, it's like now we'll go like a hiker got stabbed.
Right.
We got to kick out every,
I think it's called a hicker.
Nice. So not knowing where the interest pieces should stop, the Philadelphia Press had a story on June 5th about the undertakers in the area. So this is where they're kind of finding the bottom.
They're busy.
They're busy. They're busy.
It's the busy.
Well, that's what this story really is about. The undertakers in the area read, quote, One of the most ghastly and nauseous sights to those unaccustomed to scenes of death is the launching arrangement for the undertakers. These men are working so hard that they have no time for meals, and huge boilers of steaming coffee, loaves of bread, and dried beef and preserves are carried into the channel house and placed at the disposal of the workers.
You don't want to get the beef and the people mixed up.
Along comes one weary toiler, his sleeves rolled up, an apron in front of his perspiring profusely, despite the cold, damp weather. He was just finishing washing a clammy corpse, has dabbed it with cold water, manipulated it about on the boards, and in the interval before the body of another poor wretch is brought in, gets a cup of coffee and a sandwich. With dripping hands, he eats his lunch with relish, setting his cup occasionally beside the hideous face of a decomposing corpse and totally oblivious to his horrible surroundings.
Does the sandwich have relish on it, or is he relishing the sandwich?
I think, well, he eats his lunch with relish. I think he's having a side of relish. Now, I want to point out, that's a wild first question. That's a wild follow-up.
Let's get the basic sandwich.
I don't
stuff
think
out
the
of the
first,
way.
like they're talking about how this guy, he's not washing his hands.
Right, but he's like, I think the important thing here is what's he eating? Like, let's.
No, they got into that, but the idea, I mean, you know what he's eating. It's just to be so specifically like, was it relish on the sandwich or was it separate relish?
The Dollop is brought to you by Nutrafol.
Dave.
Gareth, you know, the pros, they got their little secret strategies for peak performance and how to get through it. But what we're talking about here is the secret strategy for keeping your hair in the game.
Yep.
Keep your hair.
Some pros are trying to win the game and keep their hair in the game.
If you've noticed a little bit of thinning, which I know you have on your face, but that's not what this is about. This is for the top.
I'm a little done with the beard shaming stuff. Although I wouldn't mind throwing a little Nutrafol on that. I don't know if that's how it works.
So it's get ahead of it with Nutrafol if you've got a little bit of thinning situation. If you notice get a little bit weaker up there, maybe you want a little more volume. Nutrafol takes a science-backed approach to help you grow thicker, fuller hair from the inside out. I started using Nutrafol and not immediately, it takes like 3 to 6 months, but people were like, your hair looks thicker. What have you done to your hair?
Yeah.
Someone asked me if I got plugs. Someone asked me if I was using Rogaine. My hair.
Someone asked why you were in their living room. You weren't supposed to be there.
All that stuff. The only thing I've been doing different is Nutrafol. Thinning hair, very common.
Really is amazing.
Yeah. Thinning hair, very common, very frustrating for a lot of people. It can be from a bunch of different things, stress, nutrition, hormone, lifestyle, a lot of factors. And Nutrafol can help you.
Great.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. In just 3 to 6 months, go from a hat guy to a hair guy with thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are physician formulated using 100% drug-free ingredients. Their patented technology provides consistent and reliable results. And men also reported no compromise in sexual performance, which is big for you.
Huge.
You know, you love sex. So start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code TheDollop. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, promo code TheDollop. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code TheDollop.
Nice.
Gareth,
Dave.
The Dollop was also brought to you by Litter Robot.
Oh, my Lord.
There's a million reasons you love your cat. There's one reason that your cat is a problem. And that is, Gareth,
no, it's
they
not
poo
me.
in the house.
Well, they use the bathroom in the house. And it's like, I told this story about when I moved out of my apartment, I was trying to get my security deposit back. And the landlord was like, yeah, we just got to get the cat litter smell out. And I was like, what? I didn't even notice. It was like a dirty little secret. Yeah. I truly, when we were at Matt Farr's place the other night, he's asking about the litter robot. I'm like, dude, it is an absolute game changer if you have a cat or cats.
He has 4.
He does, and he has a catio. It's insane what he's got going on over there. But it is a game changer. The litter is pretty much taking care of itself. All you have to do is take a little bag out of the bottom, whatever you want to do, once, twice a week, throw it out. It rotates the litter, it cleans it. It texts you, like I know on my phone when he's going to the bathroom. There's an app for that. I'm into it.
I get messages.
I want
from
you
your
off
cat.
of that
Yeah,
immediately.
but
I did not know you were on that, but I want you off of it.
I gotta know when you're.
But it tells you when it's full down there.
Yeah.
It's just the best, and he loves it. Your house smells better. I've literally had people walk in and be like, "It doesn't smell like cat," which again, it's not great with the world I was living in before. It is the best. Cannot recommend it enough.
There you go. So as a special offer to our listeners of the show, go to stopscooping.com/dollop and use promo code dollop to save an additional $50 on any litter robot bundle. That's $50 off any litter robot bundle at stopscooping.com/dollop and use promo code dollop. Stopscooping.com/dollop, promo code dollop.
Nice.
So if I'm surrounded by bodies and I'm wiping them down, I'm doing this, I'm probably famished after a while. I'm gonna eat.
Sure.
And you just eat. You eat on your job site. It's no different than a guy who's on a construction site. You see him, the picture, and they're up on the steel beam and they're eating their sandwich. Well, they're eating at work.
It's different.
So you're just
vastly different.
So you're just eating at work.
It's vastly different. It's vastly different.
Are you saying that he should have like a break room?
I think that's better because I do think the odds go up that some guy's going to forget and just start eating a guy's hand and then start performing whatever autopsy stuff he has to or post-mortem stuff he has to on a sandwich.
That he wipes his mouth and then he
with another guy's hand,
and then he wipes the corpse's mouth. He's not thinking.
Well, he's just eating brain.
Yeah.
Because he thinks it's the relish, which is actually a good point about the relish.
This is how the next part of the story, which is the zombie outbreak.
No, I'll handle. Don't talk about what's coming up or where you think this is going.
And let's not forget to get swim lessons.
It's not a bad point at all. My camera's off. Okay. So the funniest piece of journalism,
it's interesting that you framed it that way.
I also took out the thing about a fake Paul Revere that they made up.
Oh yeah.
They made up their own fake Paul Revere, and he was this guy named, I can't remember what his name was.
Toots the horn.
He's the guy. He's the guy who came and he was telling everybody, and it was
let's go. There's a flood.
Yeah. So he existed in the papers for like 3 years or 2 years.
And it wasn't real.
It was not real. Yeah. Okay. So the funniest bit of journalism, I think, was this Johnstown woman who was called a bride. She wasn't even called a woman. They were like a Johnstown bride, who was quoted as saying, "Quote: Today they took 5 little children out of the water who had been playing Ring Around the Rosie. Mm-hmm. Their hands were clasped in a clap, which even in death did not loosen, and their faces were still smiling." So
they're having a good time.
People were like, that wouldn't happen. They weren't frozen like
they're
Demolition
once
Man.
the water hits, you seize up.
No. Once the water hits, you go like
this.
They were probably freaked out if they existed.
You be the water, I'll be the kid.
Okay, water coming. Okay, so the second it touches you. So it is a little Terminator-y.
Yeah,
you
grab and then the smile goes up and you're...
I just don't believe the smile would hang.
I think that...
Look, Dave,
drowning
1889 called bullshit. 1889
drowning
called bullshit.
takes a couple minutes, and how long does it take to lose a smile? 3?
A lifetime. Okay, another hero was Ms. Clara Barton, who was brought in from the recently started American Red Cross. She was 67 years old and set up headquarters in a railroad car that was not being used. She made herself a makeshift desk, and she started sending out orders immediately. She got construction underway for temporary houses for those who'd lost their homes, and had surveys to see how many people in the area needed any attention. She and the Red Cross did an amazing job, and she was promised they would stay as long as there was work to do. Quote, we are always the last to leave the field, end quote. And she meant it. She stayed a full 5 months, never leaving once. David, she's a reminder of what can be done when funding goes to organizations to help people in disasters.
So she just, without permission, took over a rail car?
No, that's not. You're framing her as a villain.
That's what I heard.
This is a person who helped.
Well, it sounds like she just went in and commandeered someone else's property.
No.
Okay.
She's helped. She set up a fucking office in a train. I mean, that's what you're mad about?
Everybody has,
No.
like...
She's a hero.
I just think you got...
Nobody has poured water on her.
It just... At some point, you got to ask, like...
No. There's that
Who's
guy.
taking the breeze?
All right, so, excuse me. Who said you could be here? I'm going to need to see some identification, please. This is not okay.
Do you work for the railroad?
The Red Cross.
The fuck is that?
I've never heard of that.
Get out of here, you fucking deadbeat.
Well, that's what I love now, too. Like, when you see, like, that's why I just don't fucking... We're so accustomed now to when there's a natural disaster, everything being like, will you donate to the American Red Cross? Yeah. It's like, we have the fucking money, like, put it...
Why don't you take some of that bomb money? And
yeah, why don't you take the bomb money and just go to, like, but instead they're just like, these people... I mean, again, it's not a lack of sympathy for those who are in disasters. It's just like, you do it. You have all the shit.
Yeah.
You took all of our money.
Yeah.
Okay. But for all the people like Clara, there were also a bunch of idiots who also, I should say, Colonel Unger and John Park and Hess were also viewed as heroes. Hess, the whistle guy, John Park, the guy who went down and told them all. Anyway, for all the people like Clara, there were also a bunch of idiots who showed up for the wrong reasons.
These guys I love.
These guys, you're going to like this guy.
These are the best guys.
Like the religious lunatic who went by the name Louis the Light, who wore nothing but long red underwear and handed out handbills with dumb shit written on them like, quote, "Death is man's last and only enemy. Extinction of death in his only hope. Your soul, your breath ends by death. We whoop, we're all in the soup. Who's all right? Louis the Light."
I mean, is any of that wrong? No.
Is any of that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It feels...
Louis the Light.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's
red long underwear, walking around town.
I mean, you're now mad at a guy who's basically like a flood Santa Claus.
First of all, you're the one who was getting mad at Clara for just taking
She's a freeloader. It doesn't sound like this guy's taken over any property.
No, but he's okay. All right.
I mean, there's always a crazy guy. The crazy religious guys are always there.
Well, and also, I took this out for time, but there's a lot of xenophobia too. A lot of stuff about the hunkies, the Hungarians.
Oh,
Every immigrant was called a hunky now, and anyone who wasn't just like a traditional American was called a hunky. They were being blamed for a lot of shit. There's a lot of disgusting like cartoons of like, you know, these kind of dingy dudes trying to take advantage. There were a lot of people taking advantage of the situation.
Of course.
There were even people showing up at the Red Cross and getting free handouts and shit like that. But a lot of it for a while was obviously blamed on immigrants because America's going to America. Let's remember, this land was... Okay. So donations did pour in from everywhere. Trains with first aid supplies kept coming in. Tons of lumber, furniture, barrels of embalming fluid or pine tar. Minneapolis sent a lot of flour. Walla Walla gave a carload of potatoes. Cincinnati was generous enough to give 20,000 pounds of ham.
Oh, that's
kept coming in.
classic Cincinnati. They still do that today.
They do. Cincinnati always makes it ham rain.
Yeah, they're like, who needs ham?
Yeah, and you're like, not now.
Oh, we're good. We need another disaster. We have too much ham.
Okay, we're gonna blow up a government building.
I mean,
for
that's
ham.
the thing is when they start blowing shit up just
to
because
get the
extra
ham out,
it's really not good.
Well, because when you grant the ham budget, it's like they need to spend it to get it re-upped. You know what I mean?
Shit, yeah.
Yeah. All right, but Dave, you were alluding to this before, jumping ahead. But what about South Fork? Well, David, Sweet Dan, there were now more and more rumblings about the responsibility that they had in the event.
You know what? Pointing fingers is dumb, but okay.
Okay. Colonel Unger, remember him?
Nope.
He's running the place now because Ruff died.
Yeah.
So Colonel Unger and John Park were finally reached for comment, and they both spoke. Unger told the Pittsburgh Post that they did everything they could to prevent the disaster, And he kind of lamented the fact that the club was about $150,000 in the hole.
But he didn't really do everything he could because, like, he didn't let them clean off the drain in time, and
well, it wasn't even really a drain at this point. But yeah, you're right. You didn't let him to remove the fish gate thing.
Yeah.
Still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, you're forgetting that it was a buck of fish.
Also, he's a colonel, so
He's a colonel.
leave him alone.
They said that when he went back to his place after all this, he collapsed. Like he had a dramatic collapse.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the victim.
Oh,
John Park, again, still considered a hero, told the New York Sun, quote, "No blame can be attached to anyone for this greatest of horrors. It was a calamity that could not be avoided," quote.
why is John Park considered a hero?
Because he was the one who, when the dam he thought it was about to fail, he saw it kind of cresting. He took his horse and got to town in 10 minutes
right.
to tell them to send the telegram off.
Right.
He was shouting to everybody. So he told the Sun that the problem was, quote, storm after storm. And he said, quote, by 12 o'clock, everybody in the Conemaugh region did know or should have known of their danger.
That's right.
End quote.
That's right.
It's not right.
It's on the individual.
That's so America. Well, I don't know. One member of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club named James McGregor said there was no problem with South Fork. South Fork? South Fork. He said he thought the whole thing was just a big misunderstanding. He even boasted quote, I am going there to fish the latter part of this month. As for the idea of the dam ever being condemned, it is nonsense.
Yeah.
We have been putting in from $20,000 to $15,000 a year at South Fork. We have all been shaking hands with ourselves for some years. And being pretty clever businessmen, we should not be likely to drop that much money in a place that we thought was unsafe. No, sir, the dam is just as safe as it ever was, and any other reports are simply wild notions.
And okay, I mean, there's no proof of that ever being wrong.
Well, it's also so much like today where he does, what we always do, which is just equate money with intelligence or capability.
And look, I'm successful, so I do think
I have money, so you can
and
let me fix everything.
History is littered with rich idiots.
Yeah, and I mean, it really does bring you to now, like where you're just like, what the fuck? And the amount of people are just like, he has so much money, how do you think he got it?
He's rich.
On the back of fucking everybody around him. Of course, we're talking about Jesse the Body Ventura. Lewis Clark, who was a club member, told the New York Herald that after talking to some engineers, he wasn't even sure if the dam was the issue at all.
Right.
Very Republican.
No, he's right.
Yeah.
It was parts around the dam.
He's saying it could have been another dam entirely.
Thank you.
James Reed, another member, echoed that and said, quote, in the absence of any positive statement, I will continue to doubt, as do many others familiar with the place, that it really let go. It might have been a different dam.
Yep, second dam.
Now we're doing the double dam theory.
Well, have you heard, and this is
the grassy dam.
Well, this is a pretty common thing that happens in this situation, but have you heard of a ghost dam?
Is that with Bill Cosby?
Yeah, so the ghost dam will let go, and that will cause other dams to then, so it's not necessarily in the material world, but often a ghost dam is at fault.
Well, that's what it is. It does show you how up their own asses they are to be like, we got to figure out which dam did this when they have no dam. They have no dam left, and they're just like, all right, there's definitely a dam.
Yeah, it was a dam.
We got to figure out which dam did it.
Who fucked up our dam?
So, as you would imagine, people are now getting pissed. On June 3rd, reporters from Johnstown went to the dam and started reporting back and kind of ended a lot of the speculation that the dam had not done the damage.
How many days after was that?
This is a few days.
Okay.
This is pretty quick after. They then also began tracing the history of the dam back, which was bad news for the club. Like we said, he took the sluices out. There's bad
swelling in the middle.
There's the cresting issue. There's the dip. That Monday night, a group of furious men from Johnstown went to the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club looking for any members who may have been hanging around.
Hanging.
Well, that'd be great. When they couldn't find anybody, they just broke into some of the cottages by smashing the windows and destroyed the furniture, which is a letdown.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like you come all that way, you want to do something.
Make love and have a nice weekend.
I would definitely be banging.
Yeah,
there's no doubt. You just definitely whoever too. I'm not.
No, I mean, I think this is about romance.
You know what I'd do? I'd bang the bearskin rug.
Okay,
I'd just toss it over a chair and just with some of your other buddies. I'd take one of those sluices, right there.
What?
Yeah, got a bear hole. Fucking, you know what I mean? Right there in front of your friend. You're just going like, we're going to show these guys who's boss. Oh, man.
This is 100% worse than the flood.
No, come on. I'm about to flood.
No.
Oh, my dam. My dam. None of that?
No.
Okay. You're looking out the window.
I'm forlorn, yeah. I'm forlorn.
So, it seems like they were genuinely going to go kill Colonel Unger, but he could not be found.
They should have.
People were pissed. A lawyer in Allegheny County, which is right there, said, quote, I predict there will be legal suits with possible criminal indictments as a result of this catastrophe.
I predict there won't.
I am told that the South Fork Club has been repeatedly warned of the safety of its dam, and it comes from good authority, end quote.
Yeah.
But it wasn't helping. The optics were terrible. All the members, as soon as the storm lifted, just left. Yeah. None of them stuck around to help the people who'd been affected so greatly. Mm-hmm. And once the specifics were getting out about Ruff and how he'd, quote, rebuilt the dam, people were furious. Then H.W. Brinkenhoff, a renowned engineer, and M. Wellington, and F.B. Burt, and P.B. Acronym.
Come on.
That one's fake. But all the others are real. All from Engineering News showed up. And on June 5th, they had rendered their own verdict to the New York Sun with a headline that read, quote, cause of the calamity, the Pittsburgh Fishing Club chiefly responsible, the waste gates closed when the club took possession, end quote. So the club was on the hook in their opinion. Quote, there was no massive masonry, nor any tremendous exhibition of engineering skill, and designing the structure, putting it up, there was no masonry at all, in fact, not any engineering worthy of the name. The dam was simply a gigantic heap of earth dumped across the course of a mountain stream between two low hills, end quote.
But that works.
It does not.
It does.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay. What are you, a beaver now?
No, and that would be way more helpful. But more and more people are coming out talking about how terrible the dam was, how even when it got rebuilt, they were scared. Well, people were talking about it. People were like, for a long time, were like, that's not good. Like, people would even go, like, even you, like Daniel Morell in the first episode, he's going like, hey, what the fuck? Like, there's definitely people down there. But it is one of those things where it's like, it is like the wildfires. It's like, you are very accustomed to, like, they were accustomed to flooding because there was a lot of rain and stuff, or you know, however it was happening. But the full-on tragedy, you can't, even if you know it's coming, like, you're like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? They're not going to do shit.
Right.
So you're just sitting down there waiting. Finally, a jury of coroners said, quote, from the testimony and what we saw on the ground that was there was, it was not sufficient water, nor was the dam constructed sufficiently strong, nor of the proper material to stand the overflow, and hence, we find the owners of the dam were culpable and not making it as secure as it should have been, especially in view of the fact that a population of many thousands were in the valley below, and we hold that the owners are responsible for the fearful loss of life and property resulting from a breaking of the dam, end quote.
Over.
So now the story goes viral. All the websites are snagging it, picking it up. It's on Perez.
Drudge.
It's on Drudge.
Yep.
It's Breitbarted.
Yep.
CNN,
Daily
Daily Wire,
all the great ones,
all the goats.
Yeah, Slate,
which is still awesome. The headlines like, quote, the club is guilty, quote, neglect caused the break, quote, shall the officers of the fishing club answer to the terrible results? A week later, the New York Times had a headline that read, quote, an engineering crime, the dam of inferior construction according to the experts, end quote.
What's an expert?
Well, an engineer. Someone who was like, hey.
It's debatable.
No, it's 100% not. It truly...
Is it okay to Can I ask questions about it?
Can I be the teach and then you're David?
No, well, I like.
If you want to ask questions,
Okay, shut me down. I'm just saying it's okay to like not everybody knows everything, and it's okay to like be like maybe the engineers weren't right here.
Look,
like it's okay to ask questions.
look, it is. I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think it's when those people are in power.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? You can't doge a dam.
Well, it sounds like maybe the engineers, who's paying them, you know, where are they getting their engineering materials?
So you're doing the thing where you're just sort of saying like empty thoughts just to kind of
Just asking questions.
okay. It's
Free speech.
but it's a bad question.
This is free speech.
Okay. So
Science is about asking questions.
and it's not science. It truly appeared that no actual engineers, this will help, were brought in to take a look at what they were doing. The dam also never appeared to have actually been inspected by anyone, quote, who, by any stretch of charity, could be regarded as an expert.
Why would you inspect it if it's working well? It's holding the water, it's working well,
Till
so
now.
you don't need an inspection.
Till now, it was just rich men doing whatever they wanted, as quickly and as cheaply as they wanted, and they didn't care. But maybe it wasn't even beyond what happened at the club. A great paragraph, again, most of this is from the book, The Johnstown Flood by David McCullough. This is a great passage from the book. Quote, "For despite the progress being made everywhere, despite the growing prosperity and the prospect of even more of an abundant future, there were strong feelings that perhaps not always right with the Republic. And if the poor Hungarians of Johnstown were signs of a time to come when a, quote, hunky could get a job quicker than a, quote, real American, then the gentlemen of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club were signs of something else that was perhaps even worse. Was it not the likes of them? Was it not for the likes of them that were bringing in the hunkies, buying legislatures, cutting wages, and getting a great deal richer than was right or good for any mortal man in a free democratic country? People were beginning to think a little more about just what it was they might be losing and to whom. And the more they thought about it, and especially the working men, the less they liked it."
Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
I mean,
It sounds like
It's not an either
sounds like
way.
these guys don't want jobs. Is that what I'm hearing?
no, they want jobs.
Well,
They're just, it's the same shit.
yeah, it's never stopped.
It's never stopped.
Yeah, that's what
which
this
is
country is set
That's
up
what
for.
this podcast is about. It never has stopped.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, because it's not a whatever you called it at the beginning, a property podcast.
It's a property podcast.
Nope. But it is. It's just like I don't know. When I first heard about this, I was like, oh fuck's sake! They just don't. Okay. Well, anyway,
They don't care.
they don't care. I mean, you.
They're not going to be held accountable. so
I
they don't
know,
care.
but even then, most of us, don't you think like most of us would be like, the right thing to do factors into your thinking?
Yeah, well, yeah, but they're not that.
But they get there because they don't have that part of their brain.
Well, that and the richer, there's tons of studies. The richer you get, the less empathy you have.
Go, you put your hand there. Thank you. Among all the failings of the dam, it was becoming clear that if they had just removed the fucking fish guards, it would have made a huge difference. And maybe it wouldn't have stopped it, but it would have helped prevent it a little bit.
So you just pull in the fish sentries. You're like, hey, you guys, drop your guns. You don't need to be there. We don't need fish guards right now.
They were the greats that were on.
Any name you want for them, but they're guards.
Okay. They weren't. And we're not talking like a fish army,
Well,
which is actually the Navy.
it's the fish guard that we're talking about.
Okay.
So
All right.
they're keeping an eye on things.
Okay. Quote, "To preserve game for some Pittsburgh swells, the lives of 15,000 were sacrificed." Again, the numbers.
That's a lot. Yeah,
It's
that's
not,
high.
it's not what it was.
More like 7.
So feeling the heat, the club members started to pony up a little bit of money. Yeah, they started to try to buy their way out of it. Henry Clay Frick gave $5,000, which would be around $170,000 a day.
Jesus.
The Mellon family, who was involved, I didn't even get into them, but the Mellon family gave $1,000. Andrew Carnegie gave $10,000. You think that's nothing? One asshole gave $15, which would be $500 in today's money. It cost $800 to join. Oh, fuck. $800 to join. He gave $500. In today's money, you give $15.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's like a dude at a strip club, like throwing pennies on stage. Like, Hank, can we talk to you over here, Hanky? Okay, so when litigation was finally brought, though, it pretty much stalled out.
Yeah.
They couldn't bring any criminal cases for a couple of reasons. One, because Ruff, who had made a lot of those decisions, was dead. And they didn't think that the club as an entity could be at fault. It was made up of a bunch of members, but the club itself was, again, there's obviously going to be some lawyering around the edges because these are very rich people.
Well, you sue the club and then everyone who's part of the club.
But it's like Enron. Like, you can't blame Enron.
Yeah, I can.
And Enron didn't do anything. Enron's a class organization.
No, but Enron.
There was a couple of oopsie
the guys who
in it.
ran the club, or
There were a couple of. If you're listening, there were a couple of oopsie poopsies in the club, but the club was healthy. Plus, there were a lot of points being made that this flood was so unique that they couldn't have prepared for it. They had not seen anything like it.
You know why it was unique? Because they did a dam without any engineers. They just
the flood, the amount of rain was, like I said, we don't know exactly how much it was because the guy who was supposed to keep an eye on that
worst case
guy.
scenario, which is what you make a dam for.
Yes. It's like the levees in New Orleans. It's like you go, yeah, well, okay, what if the worst thing happens? Yeah. What are you going to do? Yeah. Again, these are very rich guys influencing this area. So the American Society of Civil Engineers dragged their feet in investigating because of who they were investigating. And when their findings finally came out, it favored the club. They basically said that you can't prove it was negligence, and the flood was so bad, even with the drain pipe issue, even with drain pipes, it still might have failed, Plus,
what year is this again?
This is 1889. So it is true. Also, when this is going on, Carnegie is...
Yeah.
He's in Paris.
Yeah. Then
he goes to Scotland to golf.
Yeah.
And, all these people are dead and their lives are completely ruined, their businesses, all that stuff. And one guy offered $15 fucking.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
They are our worst.
Yeah.
Okay, so these were the richest men of the era. So, they were rich, and the rich people always win. Mm-hmm. So, who gives a shit? The only way to do it was with individual lawsuits instead of one big criminal one. So, individual lawsuits were brought. But when a suit was brought, they would move it around a lot to kind of delay it. And then when it was finally going, it would be in the area. And still, so much of the area was still a steel town, Cambria Steel, still stayed open after this. Mm-hmm. They need money and jobs more than ever. Mm-hmm. So, you'd get a couple of those guys on a jury and, whatever. So nothing happened. Arguably, the saddest lawsuit of the lot was brought from the club, or to the club from a guy named Jacob Strayer, who was a lumber dealer. He sued the club for $80,000 in lost goods. And they did the thing. The case was kind of bouncing around from court to court. Like I said, the club was always changing the venue. Then 5 years into the lawsuit, Strayer figured out that his lawyer, without his knowledge, had actually already settled the case out of court for $500 and died shortly thereafter. And Strayer went bankrupt, and that was the end of it.
Well, I mean, that's
awful.
It's illegal.
It's a story of a lawyer.
But that's illegal. You can't.
Well, that's why he died right after. He was like, I'm fucking.
Yeah, he was gonna die.
I gotta get out of here. He spent $500 and then he took off.
Yeah.
So in other words, the club just completely, fully
got away with it
with no accountability. Got away with it.
That's what happens to rich people in this country. That's why we are where we are, because for years and years, there's no laws for the rich.
No, because they influence. It comes down to the thing we always talk about, which is just you can't have this system where money is literally everything. Right. If money is literally everything, then people are going to do everything to get it. Yeah. And the sick people will get all of it, and they'll do anything to get it, and they'll treat the regular people like shit to get it. Yeah. And so they just ruin everything. And it's just on this scale now, and this was a poor town. This was not this was a small working class poor town. Mm-hmm. and they were doing all right, and then everything got fucking taken away from them. The difference from then till now is that, you know, there was work, like there was an outpour, there was like help coming, the government was assisting, there was stuff going on. Now, I mean, what is that? Like, it's West Virginia, right? Where it's just like they still have not, like, Trump has not addressed the floods there, and you know, that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So in August 1889, the North American Review had an article called "The Lesson of Conemaugh." In it, Major John Wesley Powell, when writing about the dam, said it had not, quote, properly related to the natural conditions, end quote. And at the end of the article, he stated, quote, modern industries are handling the forces of nature on a stupendous scale. Woe to the people who trust these powers to the hands of fools, end quote. Mm-hmm. That's the story of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club and how they killed thousands of people.
So it's a happy, good, it had a good ending. It's a good story.
It's a good story. It's a fun story. It's cool. It's cool. It's what's up.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
This, like I said, the Johnstown Flood by David McCullough. I was there on the History Channel on YouTube. Flood, fire, destruction, the Great Johnstown Flood, and some stuff from npshistory.com. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's that goddamn nightmare. So,
yay!
You want to go out with your teach for maybe some pizza?
Yeah, we'll get some pizza and maybe do
some sluice pipes. Put them on a bear rug.
Do the leapfrog thing you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely, do all that stuff. Will it ever change, Dave?
Nope.
Do you think the worse it's getting now, we might be getting close to some breaking point?
It could totally.
Will the dam break, so to speak?
Oh yeah, the dam's going to break in some way, but
they just have so much.
They do. They have a lot.
And now they're going to have robot dogs with flamethrowers that are not going to be capable. I mean, that's the good news. Yeah. We will be living in like the stupid version of.
Yeah, the first time they set out robots to keep control of everybody, it's just going to be like.
You saw that robot like beating the shit out of like someone in China, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, well there you go. That's that. So shout out to the rich people. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank me.